Hi everyone, I'm back with another video from the Season 6 / expansion PTR, and I want to show off the God Demon Hunter / Spin2Win Rogue that we now got with the new Dance and Knife skills. This is what it looks like. I've been already progressing on the PTR on day 1. I made like a video about this, maybe you have seen that. If not, you might want to check it out, just talking about the overall progression changes, the leveling and so on. This was a fresh character that I made here, that I have now managed to progress all the way to Torment 4, and I can comfortably farm Torment 4, like outdoor content, dungeons, pits, like 65 plus. I'm actually planning to maybe push to something like maybe 75, 80 or so tomorrow. I'm around 18 hours into this character. This was like a fresh like season start character basically that I'm playing here, since I play softcore on the PTR right now. This was a good opportunity for me to completely start fresh with nothing, because I always play hardcore. I didn't have anything, so that was nice. And that's what it looks like. It's kind of a funny little accident that happened here. I was playing a Victimize Barrage version with the new reworked Victimize key passive. I was blasting pretty hard, and this was one of the builds I had prepared going into this PTR. I have them all on my Discord. I can show them in a second. But yeah, basically we got this channel here on my Discord, the Woody Builds channel, that has a lot of stuff that I made in preparation for the PDR, but Dance of Knives Victimize was not really on the list, and there are still other ways to play it. You don't have to play Victimize, but it just turns out to be really strong. Victimize is popping off, and I don't need imbuements here. I don't need to do any weird snapshotting that you can do actually with this build. There's lots of funny stuff you can do with Dance Knives. Basically anything you can imagine kind of snapshots into this, like the concealment, 100% crit and vulnerable application, or these kind of things. Synergy aspect, that stuff works. So you can do some cool stuff, but all of that is irrelevant for this here. We just kind of like press our buttons, fly through the map. We have lots of mobility and it feels good. So Spin2Win is actually a thing, guys, on the Rogue. So this is kind of what I've been working on. My character is now around 18 hours old, and I started from scratch basically, as I said. So we are relatively fast, I believe, for what I believe it should be, considering this is pit 64 out of 100, and 65 is like the Torment 4 difficulty, and outdoor difficulty, and Nightmare Dungeons and so on. There's like the highest level of difficulty. This seems like a very strong build. In fact, I think it turns out that, yeah, this might be too easy here with what Blizzard has delivered to us. And I really hope that they might retune us a little bit. Not just necessarily this build. I think this build is okay. It's more like that Torment 4 seems a bit easy. But that on the side, I just want to show you a little bit what this looks like here. So I also have a planner for this that right now doesn't have like any leveling progression stuff here. That just has like the kind of best in slot mythic variation that I kind of put together real quick. So I don't actually have all of this stuff here. I don't have a Hair of Perdition or Materials or anything like that. I just have like some random stuff. I got a Cow of the Nameless somewhere, so I'm using that, which is pretty good with the trick attacks. And here's a Fist of Fate. I got really lucky with that one. From one B skill I've done, I got this. That was really nice. And the rest is just random, kind of okay legendaries. Like I don't even have like Ancestral on every slot, but most of them by now. But yeah, we're missing 1, 2, and then 3, 4, I guess. And 1 GA items are not really that hard to get. You will get them at some point. In fact, here's a 2 GA actually that just dropped. That's kind of cool. But yeah, so this is kind of the setup here. It's relatively easy to make. Maybe not super early on. I would recommend maybe level with this a little bit with something else. Or maybe, for example, just play like a Puncture, Flurry, Victimize build or so. You can just, produce a lot of lucky hits with the triple Puncture there, for example. And then Flurry for the attack speed buff with comp points. This is like a good option to get started with Victimize. The thing about Victimize is you need to make enemies vulnerable all the time, and the best way to do this is the exploit glyph. So you kind of need to get a level 60, need to get Paragons online, so that they have this glyph. And there's also a lot of late game scaling in this build, or just any Victimize build, because there's 3 separate multiplicative bonuses from those glyphs that you can stack up. From the exploit glyph, the chip glyph has the same effect, and diminish. So you want to get all 3 of those glyphs because they all have this vulnerable bonus, and not only does this multiply your damage against vulnerable, but it also multiplies your sheet vulnerable. So we have the classic Blizzard math situation here, where I actually only have 1195 vulnerable damage, but the sheet says I have 2198, so it's like double almost. and your victimized passive scales of the sheet value, not of the true value. And this is in great part thanks to those glyphs, for example, multiplying your damage twice. So there's like some double dipping going on. This is very common. This happens all the time with all the other key passives and so on as well. So I was already expecting that. And before I even ever played this on the PTR, I already put all these glyphs in there. And turns out I was correct. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, the rest of the setup is just kind of like, spin around with Dance of Knives. We have like a Caltrops here just for the bosses mostly. Same with the Poison Trap, just kind of like throw them on the boss. And you want to try to stagger bosses very fast, which is easy to do thanks to all of these crowd control effects. There's also a Smoke Grenade, has the daze, you have the knockdown, you have the slow, you can put like a freeze temper or something. You have the Fist of Fate when you get that. And you have all these random crowd controls and you see how fast the boss got staggered earlier. Even like 2-3 stagger rounds, very easy to do. There's also some bugs going on with Dance of Knives where you can like spam it. You can like not hold the button, but you can just keep pressing it like multiple times per second. And this actually allows you to infinitely spin. So you can do that early on if you feel like you're running out of charges too much. But realistically, I expect that to get fixed by the expansion launch. It also allows you to do a lot more DPS, which is also like a, very much unintended, I'm sure. So I wouldn't really hold my breath that this makes it into the release, but at least for the PTR now to kind of like, get to experience this a bit more and easier, you could do that. Otherwise, it's mostly just like hold down, spin to win, get to the boss, here and there do a dash or a shadow step, and this is kind of how that works. I didn't really want to go into like all the details now of like, every single aspect, every single roll on your gear, TLDRs, victimized builds, you want lucky hit, you want vulnerable damage. We want a lot of like generic damage boosts, so you have retribution, concussive strikes, elements, whatever, just to buff the victimized damage. And we play this with inner sight. We also have the true sight aspect that was buffed here, so we have some nice damage boost here. And the star shots, this is a new aspect that is for Dance of Knives. So this allows you to just produce more hits basically. I believe those extra hits also have like a hit. I have not specifically tested it. I do know that they carry imbuements though, so I would imagine that they also carry the lucky hit. But for now, I'm just running with this because it's at the worst, it's just extra hits, I guess. But yeah, most of the damage does come from the victimized explosions, so you don't actually invest like skill ranks, for example, into Dance of Knives. 1 point is enough, and you need to stack a lot of movement speed. Most importantly, to proc enhanced Dance of Knives. It says every 30 meters you travel, you gain 4 charges while channeling it. So this kind of just counts it up, and there's an invisible counter for this, and then you just get 4 charges back. And if you have a lot of movement speed, you actually get to the point where you can nearly infinitely channel all the time, basically. So that's really cool. Also, when inner sight is active, you actually do not spend any of those charges. So this is also like another neat addition here whenever this proc is up. So you have a lot more damage and you don't spend charges, you just keep spinning. And otherwise, here and there, you do your dashes and so on. And for example, early on, when you're like really low level, you might run out of charges quite often because you don't have the movement speed, but you can invest into it. So there's stuff like Stutter Step, you want to pick that up, get the Dark Shrouds early, try to get the Umbrous aspect so you can have these Dark Shrouds all the time. There's movement speed here. And then there's also Haste. Since you don't actually spend any energy, you can get this movement speed buff all the time. So there's a lot of movement speed just on the tree already. You can throw in some Shadow Steps as well. For example, if you have Ravager aspect, you also get movement speed from this one. And there's multiple tempers you can put on the boots and on the amulet to get extra speed, or even like a Wind Striker aspect or something like that. So try to get that movement speed up as much as possible. This is very important to get like a good Dance of Knives build rolling. So just kind of want to show this off here real quick. You saw the run at the start. I'll cover this in more detail when the time comes for the actual release. But for now, Spin2Win Rogue is a thing, and it's really fun. And it's also like a very chill way to like play a farming build in Diablo 4 for rogues in particular, because rogues are usually like very intense, let's say. And this is actually just kind of a nice, smooth sailing farming build here. So I'll have more to share from the PTR, so stay tuned for more videos. Tomorrow as well, the runes unlock, so that's going to be crazy. We don't even have them right now. And there's going to be a lot of build testing going on then, once we have all the boosts and the runes and all that stuff. Right now, I've just been kind of like doing the leveling progression, trying to get to Torment 4, which I have now accomplished at around 18 hours. If you want to have a benchmark for yourself, this is what it takes to get to like 200 for me. with, you know, a bit of slacking and, you know, testing and experimenting, I guess. It can be done faster. But yeah, this is actually not too long, it turns out. For now, this is what I got here. I will have the link to the setup that I just showed here, the victimized dance of nice build. As I mentioned, I might expand this a little bit with like extra sets, so I might do like a leveling or a starter version or like, you know, a non-mythic version at least, since I also don't really have that. But you can just try to fill this up with what you got. I will show the aspects real quick again with what I have equipped right now. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Wish you good luck if you're playing on a PTR. Otherwise, yeah, I'll have a lot more stuff to share soon, so stay tuned and see you guys next time.